Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends, guys. Welcome back to our entitled people, where people truly believe it's all about them. And in today's episode, we've got nasty Karen mother-in-laws, guys, thinking they rule the world. They're crossing extreme boundaries in this one. And one OP tells a story about the time mother-in-law tried to have him jailed for not obeying her parenting tips, which is wild. So yeah, sit back, relax, and try not to shake your heads too hard in this one. To preface, I do love my mother-in-law, and I value and appreciate everything she does for my family, but she really leans into her role as a grandmother, and she's always said to me, quote, "I'm a grandma, I can do whatever I want," whenever we ask her to respect our food choices for our kid. This means spoiling her grandkids with sweets and treats against her kids' wishes. Her kitchen has a full cookie drawer at all times. I once watched her give my 8-year-old nephew a full angel food cake to eat, just to, quote, see what he would do. And spoiler, he ate the full thing and then got really sick. So over the weekend, we're staying at her house, and my 3.5-year-old son is very well aware that she'll give him whatever he wants. It's breakfast time, and he's asking for ice cream and cookies, to which I say no, and redirect him to his banana and yogurt, healthier choices. Well, she gives him a chocolate chip cookie anyways, saying, "Oh, don't you worry about what your dad says, Grandma allows it." To which I say, I'd appreciate you not feeding my son cookies at 8:30 in the morning. She just smiles and says, "Oh, come on, let him live a little." Well, later that morning, my wife and I are out shopping at one of those beach stores, as it's a coastal town, when I overhear someone else say, "Who would want a fart noise maker on a keychain?" And I thought to myself, well, this guy does. The thing about my mother-in-law is she absolutely hates potty humor and anything related in that sense. My son's a 3.5-year-old boy, so yeah, butt noises are the funniest thing in the world right now. So I bring the thing home and it goes exactly as I predicted. She hates it and he loves it, but she can't say anything because she sees how much he's enjoying himself. This thing has 6 different noises, and he's absolutely laying into every single one. He's having a blast, all around cackling. My mother-in-law is grumbling how disgusting it is, and that I'm teaching him to be a troublemaker when he grows up. She keeps telling me how she hopes it breaks, and I just shoot her a grin and say, "Oh, come on, let him live a little." She wasn't too happy with that response. Listen, that was such a great way to get back at mother-in-law, wasn't it? And guys, the only thing that would have made it better is if the thing included a fart smell dispenser. But yeah, the cherry on top is OP getting to throw mother-in-law's words right back at her. And there wasn't a thing she could do about it. Guys, that one was tame though. It only gets wilder from here. Listen to this next one. So this one's a long one. My husband and I got married a year ago. He and I didn't live together before. In fact, we hardly saw each other because we both worked and studied at the same time, so our time was quite limited. We got married and we went to live together in his apartment. Unfortunately, 2 months after our wedding, his father died in an accident. My mother-in-law and my husband, who's an only child, were devastated as it was quite sudden. This is when my mother-in-law, left alone, began to suggest to my husband that we move in with her to her house. But because she's from another state, we couldn't due to our jobs and college. And then she decided to come to us, inviting herself to our home. My husband, feeling for her since she just lost her husband of 40 years, allowed it. Now, our apartment is 2 rooms, so my mother-in-law occupied one, and my husband and I occupied another. The thing is, my mother-in-law never liked me. She's one of the mothers who think that no woman is good enough for her son. That said, as a couple who are still in the honeymoon stage, who never saw much of each other nor lived together before, we were quite intimate together quite frequently, every day. This of course changed when mother-in-law arrived, since the apartment is small and I didn't feel comfortable doing it with her living there. And the thing is, when we did get intimate, my mother-in-law always magically interrupted us. It didn't matter what time it was. If it was 3 o'clock in the morning, she casually got up and she would knock on our door asking, "What are you doing?" Or she would take attention away from me by saying her head hurts, she's having chest pains, yada yada yada. This has been going on since my mother-in-law moved in with us, and it's been a stressful 7 months. I have no privacy of any kind, and on top of that, she criticizes everything I do, especially my food. My husband tries to give me my place, saying things like, "It's not true, Mom, the food tastes good." But what really annoyed me was the fact that she starts saying several things of value and money disappeared from her room, accusing me of stealing from her. It got to the point that I felt like she was trying to get my husband to side with her, to kick me out or something. I got really fed up, and I told my husband this wasn't what I expected. I agreed to let her move in with us because father-in-law passed away, and I was really trying to be empathetic to her and her pain, but I'm not gonna let her call me a thief. I went to my parents' house for a bit, long enough that my husband ends up kicking his mother out. She didn't take it so well. She hasn't communicated with anyone since she left, and we also don't know if she returned to her house. And now, everything's fine. My husband also thanked me because he couldn't stand having his mother in our apartment anymore. I also made it very clear to my husband that if his mom had behaved differently, I never would have minded if she stayed with us. I feel a little bad for her, but she really brought it upon herself. I was always kind, despite her treatment. Yeah, I think a lot of us will agree that Opie's husband made a good choice evicting mother-in-law because after 7 months, she's very much worn out her welcome, in my opinion. Especially when she's starting to act malicious in certain ways and putting a strain on the relationship. Like the 3 o'clock in the morning thing and always interrupting intimacy is wild though. Again, I think mother-in-law is gonna be fine and that Opie and her husband need to focus on their marriage, moms across the country. Leave your thoughts down below though, guys. And if you think that mother-in-law crossed boundaries, she's nothing like this next one. Holy moly, listen to this one. So I really can't believe it, but my mother-in-law claims that my wife and I, mid-30s, are abusing our 6-month-old. She says that since he complains and groans while on his tummy, our doctor said he needs more tummy time for his flat spots and to strengthen his muscles, as well as to help him roll over and get him crawling. This is natural and something all babies must do. Of course, being a new position for baby, he doesn't like tummy time, but it's not like he gets to the point of crying. He makes uncomfortable noises and strains. We've tried explaining this to mother-in-law, but she keeps claiming that we're forcing the baby, and that this is abuse. My controlling mother-in-law has been living with us for the last few months, and things have gone great until this happened. 2 days ago, she saw me putting baby down for tummy time, and she snatches baby away from me. She says I'm committing violence against him. And then, yesterday, she tried doing the same thing, and I refused to give her my baby. And the thing is, I wasn't even doing tummy time. My baby makes noises when he isn't doing something, just constantly gets bored. Mother-in-law heard him fussing from another room, and she comes barging in saying, "How dare I abuse him?" I just walked away from her, and I locked the door behind me. She pounded on the door saying she'll call the cops to have me arrested, and she did call them. I called my wife, who left work immediately and drove home. 2 policemen came and they talked to her and then us. Mother-in-law tried telling the cops that we were dirty and this isn't a good place for a baby. She then listed things like dirty bottles, a snot sucker left on the counter, that we pet the dog and then hold the baby without washing our hands, and that we do tummy time where the cat lays on the couch. I invited them in and I said they could walk around. They looked around and they saw an immaculately clean place and a very happy baby. And I want to note that mother-in-law had not been cleaning up the past couple of days or helping with anything like she did in the past, making me think that this was premeditated to try to make us look bad. But thankfully, I was cleaning behind her. When she told them that tummy time hurts the baby and tried to get them to tell me to stop it, they just said to her, "I'm not a professional doctor." If that's what's recommended, then that's that. The police couldn't contain their laughter, saying it sounds like mother-in-law thinks she's the resident expert, and they run into mothers all the time who disagree with parenting styles a lot. I unfortunately couldn't laugh along because I was frustrated explaining the situation, but it was obvious the police were on our side. The police then told us the clean house does not look like an unsafe environment for the baby. They also informed us that at this point, they were just there for a venting session with mother-in-law and not to worry. Of course, no police report was filed. My wife had my back the whole time and she kicked mother-in-law out of our house. She had a couple of hours to pack her bags and then I drove her to a motel. She of course was mad, but she had no remorse and she thinks she did nothing wrong. She also doesn't have much money, so my wife and I are paying for it. We got her a flight home tomorrow. I'm not sure what'll happen in the future, but it might be the last time mother-in-law sees her grandchild. She has no idea, and she thinks it's her baby too. Luckily, mother-in-law and father-in-law live on the other side of the country, and here's to hoping they never move here. And as a side note, mother-in-law's made many comments, but my wife has shut her down. She said stuff like she doesn't like the fact that his pediatrician is so young. She doesn't trust doctors. She doesn't trust the skin treatment method the pediatrician chose for a rash. She also doesn't like that we don't give him water, and she's convinced he's dehydrated all the time. He's not, as newborns aren't supposed to drink water. They get hydration from breast milk and formula. Things were just building up since she never got her way, and that's when it all came out. And the funny thing is she also hated this white noise machine we have, and she even told the police about it, saying that babies are supposed to sleep in complete silence and to take it away. The officer stayed professional, but you could tell that he was holding back laughing as she was trying to convince him that white noise machine was abusive. Yeah, mother-in-law definitely crossed the boundaries with this one, and her arguments were absurd. Like, voicing your opinion is one thing, but calling the cops and trying to have OP jailed for disobeying her is next level. And this person comments, "Just yesterday, we gave our 3-month-old tummy time while my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, and my friend were over. And my mother-in-law called it baby torture. I think she was only half joking, but she looked like she was going to cry. But at least we were able to explain that even though he doesn't like it, he needs to do it for his development. I'm sorry your mother-in-law went so far overboard, and I'm glad your partner handled it well. But guys, it doesn't end there. OP comes back with an update post 4 days later, and they say, "Update. So an hour after I dropped off mother-in-law at the motel, both my wife and I got texts from father-in-law, and I quote, 'You can't leave my wife in a hotel. I demand you guys take her back to your house right now and work out any problems or misunderstandings. If something happens to her because you left her in a dingy motel, you're gonna be responsible.' And then, he later argued that we didn't explain tummy time well enough to her, and he said, 'You guys are not geniuses. You need to be empathetic.' My wife immediately blocked him, but I didn't know until we discussed it later. I tried reasoning with father-in-law, but I realized it wasn't happening, so I blocked him too. The next day, the motel said I can't pay by the phone, so I had to drive to the motel to pay for one more night. This was Saturday, and her flight was on Sunday. I also decided to bring her some snacks. She requested water, but I decided some snacks too. Anyways, to be petty, I put the one she didn't like in the snack package for her, taquitos and other things. When I dropped off the care package, she said she wasn't really going to call Child Protective Services. I also want to add that I forgot to say that in the original post, but she did threaten this. She didn't offer an apology, but she wanted me to tell my wife that she wasn't really going to call CPS. I just said, "Alright," and then left. Mother-in-law then called, and I thought she was going to apologize, but she didn't. Instead, she starts guilt-tripping, saying she thought she wasn't treated well, and other random things. We just hung up on her. So Sunday rolls around and I pick up mother-in-law and I took her to the airport. On the way, I asked if she was planning on apologizing. She says to me, "To who?" I respond, "To both of us." She then starts saying how we didn't explain tummy time well enough and that it's our fault all of this happened. So then, I decided to say what I planned and rehearsed in my head. I said that this whole situation was her fault and that she put us in danger by calling the police, and that threatening to call CPS ensured that she would never see her grandchild again. I told her she's not welcome in our house in the future, and if I see her again anywhere near the house, I would call the police for trespassing. And I know that's not what trespassing is, but I was so heated. I also told her she was a bad person, which I kind of regret because once I said that, she had tears in her eyes. I was shaking and I hastily dropped off her bags for her. As I start driving away though, I hear a tap on the glass. I nearly drove away with one of her bags in the back seat. So as she picked up her last bag, I called out that she would never ever see her grandchild again and then drove away angrily. I really can't say that I feel better, but the rest of the day, I felt sad in general and I'm not sure why. I haven't felt like cooking, even though I cook most days, so we ordered Chinese. It's been a couple of days now, and I'm feeling slightly better, just replaying the car conversation and wishing I said even more by shaming her for her guilt-tripping my wife so much. Anyways, I did speak with my wife, and we agreed that both mother-in-law and father-in-law are blocked. We haven't heard from them, but it's only been a couple of days. They probably think we're overreacting and will come around, but I don't think we ever will. My brother-in-law's getting married in September, so we might have to see both of them there. Also, many people said they would not have bought the hotel and plane ride for her, but I think mother-in-law's on food stamps and she's quite poor. She also did give us childcare a few days a week for 3 months, so I am thankful for that. She saved us quite a lot of money. I think we did the right thing to pay for the hotel and airplane, but I think it's still funny that I gave her taquitos as a snack, which is something that she hates. To begin, my husband's mom is not a good person. I'm someone who always finds the good in people, no matter how bad it is, and I make too many excuses for poor behavior. For years and years I did this with her, until I finally accepted that she's just a rotten person to her core. She often acts like a jealous ex-girlfriend with me, and she's been very abusive to my husband in his childhood and adult life, which is funny because apparently she loves him so much, and she always complained that I'm the one who took him away from her. That said, recent Christmas, she demanded my husband send her no less than $200 as a Christmas gift. He refused this time for the first time as he told her he didn't have the money and couldn't. He had recently gotten me a wedding ring upgrade and he gave me a diamond bracelet for Christmas that year. I soak them both in dish liquid, which helps the shine, and I cleaned them extremely well right before she was set to arrive for Christmas Eve, so they would sparkle enough to blind her. When she did arrive, as I suspected, she noticed as I dangled that hand around her face frequently, and she asked about both. I gave her a better look, and that's when I gushed about both, saying, "Your son got them for me. Aren't they beautiful?" He couldn't wait to give me the bracelet for Christmas. It's okay though, I still have a ton of gifts from him under the tree to open on Christmas Day. You raised such an amazing son, he spoils me so much. I'm not sure I've ever seen that much anger in her eyes. With that said, recently, her and I went out to dinner as my husband and father-in-law were at a concert together. They're from out of state and they were staying with us a few days. My mother-in-law is intense and she doesn't hold back on overly displaying how much she loves her son when around me. Well, at dinner, after 3 martinis and me being completely sober as my husband and I are trying to conceive, she looks at me and she goes, "If you ever break my son's heart, I will hunt you down and I'll effing kill you. I mean it. And his sister will too. She watches a lot of Dateline." Now, I was so stunned that she said this that I didn't respond the way I wanted to. I kind of babbled on about something, saying something about not needing to be worried and I'm taking care of her son. I told my husband this and he was appalled. So flash forward to the day after they left, the morning after the incident. Mother-in-law begins to send text after text with the most effusive love and support you can imagine regarding her stay with us and our loving home. We ignore them because we're both working, and also, who cares? The plan was for my husband to call her after work. Well, she knows something's up because now she's calling me. I let it go to voicemail. My husband calls her as soon as he gets home, and he absolutely lets her have it. While he was firm and calm, there was no mistaking that she was silent, and he told her how unacceptable, disappointing, disturbing, and unnecessary that comment was. And her response is, "That's just how I talk." He then explains that no one speaks to his wife like that, and no one understands her disjointed state of mind except for her. He then hung up the phone. She calls him back 10 minutes later, which is a classic move once she's thought about what manipulative thing to say, and we ignored her. The following day rolls around and she calls again, this time saying that she's joking and we took it the wrong way. My husband leans into her again and we decide that I will never ever be left alone with her. He finally lets me know for the first time ever that he's understood his mom's game since high school, and that's partly the reason why he moved out of state. It goes way deeper than this, but wow, was it eye-opening. For now, I'm no contact with her, and it looks like husband will soon be too. Monster-in-laws are no joke. To preface this, I just wanted to let it be known that yes, I do overdo it with the camera system a bit. I have a Ring doorbell, along with mini cameras in the living room, kitchen, and mine and my husband's bedroom. He knows all about the cameras, and let me make that clear, he knows they're there and he's okay with it. You see, about 3 years before we got together, we've been together 5 years now, I was in my apartment living by myself. Long story short, someone broke in, I tried to fight back, got beat up, and I had all of my prized possessions stolen. I was in the hospital for a few days, and the guy was never caught. And ever since then, I've had a lot of anxiety, hence the cameras now. I am in therapy, and I have been for 2 years now, and I'm doing better. The cameras are a security blanket, and my therapist thinks they're fine, as they help me feel better without being intrusive. Anyways, on to what happened. My husband and I are child-free, and his mother hates that. She's brought it up for years, and we've told her no every single time. I thought she had finally given up on the idea, but I guess not. My husband and I were at work when I get this notification from Ring on my phone. It was my mother-in-law, and she was at our house as she had a spare key. And I also want to add, I didn't give her one, that's for sure. She was supposed to be gone to another state visiting her sister, so I was confused and I decided to check the inside cameras. I got home before my husband, so I sit down and I check the living room video to see that she went towards the back rooms. I pull up the bedroom camera to find her snooping through our stuff. And it's important to note, we used to use birth control pills, but then I switched to an IUD. The switch was recent, so I still had a lot of my old birth control pills in my nightstand. I see her shuffling around in my nightstand, and I see her pulling out my birth control pill case and then leave with them. I go and check, and they're in the nightstand again, so she took them and returned them afterwards. I check the living room footage again, and after going to my room, she goes to the kitchen. The kitchen footage shows her taking the birth control pills and putting them in the microwave. She heated them up for 2 minutes and then put them back where they belong. I was so furious because, to me, it seems like she was tampering with my birth control in an attempt to get me pregnant. When my husband gets home, I show him the footage with all the timestamps. He was reasonably upset too, so I told him I want to speak to a lawyer and maybe the cops for breaking and entering because we never gave her a key, and I don't know how she got a copy. My husband was with me until that point. He then flips on me and he told me I'm being dramatic, that I don't even use birth control pills anymore, so who cares what she does with them, and he accuses me of trying to isolate him from his mom. He also called me a bitch for wanting his mom arrested and sent to jail, and then he packed his bag and went to stay with his friend. He's been there 3 days and he hasn't been back yet. So what do? Do I confront my mother-in-law? Do I ignore my husband and go to a lawyer and the police anyways? This feels crazy. I don't know why he's so mad at me when she's the one committing crimes here. Update. So I'm gonna try to keep this one short, but there isn't any good news. I tried calling my husband for another day before I finally gave up, and I called his friends to see who he was staying with. Finally, one told me that he was staying with his mother, so I called mother-in-law's landline and luckily he answered. I told him we need to have a talk face to face, otherwise I'll be going through with the divorce. He comes by and he confesses that he was staying with his mom and he didn't tell me because he knew I would be mad. After some pushing, he admitted to making a copy of his key and giving his mom one, and he confessed to wanting kids. I asked about his dating profile way back when he said child-free, and why he put up such a united front of no children with me for years to only suddenly change his mind. He said it was because he saw how lonely his mom is, and he agrees now we need kids to liven up the holidays. Not only that, but to give her something to do, etc. As in, his sole reason for now wanting kids was for his mother, not his own. It wasn't a change of heart, it was because his mom wanted grandbabies. He insisted he didn't realize his mom would go this far and pull that crazy stunt, which I do believe because if they were plotting, he would have told her I was no longer on birth control and tampering with it would do nothing. He would have also told her not to break in because of the cameras. I just packed his stuff in a trash bag and I kicked him out. I told him to go back to mommy and that my divorce lawyer will be in contact soon. At that point, I hadn't changed the locks. I wasn't sure of the legality of it and I didn't want to do something that could potentially hurt my chances in court. Besides, I didn't think mother-in-law would show up again because she had her baby boy. Turns out I was wrong though. She shows up later knocking and I pretend not to be home as my car was in the garage and she couldn't see it. She then knocked for another 15 minutes and I debated calling the police, but before I could, she enters the property with her key. I was furious and I'm not gonna lie, it gave me a flashback to my attack and I had a huge panic attack. I was inconsolable and crying and I locked myself in the bathroom. To make things worse, she pounded on the bathroom door. She called me a soul crusher, heartless, and a crappy wife, along with some other colorful insults before finally leaving. It took like 5 hours to calm down. After that, I called my brother. He's staying with me now and he's changed the locks. He's also helped me with contacting a lawyer and starting the divorce. My husband's been doing damage control and he's got all of his friends and family before I could. And he spun a BS lie that I was trying to isolate him from his mom and that I'm making false police reports, blah blah blah. It sucks to say that a majority believed him because he was their friends first before me, but I was able to talk to a few and tell them my side of the story. And that's where I am. I'm about to be divorced, I'm honestly scared and upset, and I'm doing therapy sessions twice a week to try to work on all the progress that's been lost when his soon-to-be ex-psycho mother-in-law broke in again. What a wild post that was, guys, and honestly, if I were in OP's shoes, I would be going scorched earth on husband. Like, you're gonna try to spin a BS story about me? Well, I have the camera footage. Like, put that on blast on social media and show the part where mother-in-law microwaves the birth control pills to see what friends and family think about that. But holy moly, guys, some people really do go to the extremes to get what they want, and it's shocking how instead of talking to OP like a normal, rational person about having kids and having the change of heart, hubby decides to be all sneaky about it, and it ends up like this. And the crazy thing is, he didn't even want kids. He wanted a present for his mother. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this post. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our / entitled people. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r/I don't work here lady, where Karens are mistaking regular Joe Schmoes as workers, and the stories are so satisfying. Guys, go check it out if you haven't, and myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.